It's just different. you feeling? Feeling better? Yeah. That's a weird one. It's a weird one. Yeah. Yeah, my wife. She's stuck at the corner.
Right, you know her extension? She's 2397.
She looks like a Jeff to me.
Yeah.
Better if they don't know you.
Right?
How long's it been? 5 minutes? 6 months?
At least.
Right? Be busy. We're gonna have a lot of reading one of these days.
Novel.
And you gonna have to go back and watch the tape to see if they're actually right.
I get the feeling you probably just watch that just for fun, don't you? You would do that for fun.
Over and over, I had the Moody's Greatest Hits CD at home.
It's too funny. Well, I know that
You might be able to
Moody's greatest hit.
that's good. Commissioner Moore and Andy would watch Planning Commission. They would actually watch manatees going to commissioner meetings because they were so crazy down there sometimes. And they would call each other with popcorn like a movie.
Sounds like it.
Watching it in the evenings from home, yeah. I guess their meetings are now.
Hey, sure.
Thank you.
My year's worth of rice alone.
Yeah. How goes it? Thank you.
That's okay if you don't. Just make sure the clerk gets one. Back to me.
Yeah. Everybody's here.
For you too.
That's why I knew Barbara was here.
She draws a crowd.
Thank you.
You know when you're comfortable and ready. Okay.
Oh,
Public comment. I wanted to make sure you're all there.
well, I think we have to make a motion to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll-
Yeah.
But you can still hand them out. We'll just make a motion to receive and file and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. So we stand for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
clerk could read the roll call, please.
Mr. Jamie Girardi,
Here.
Mr. Christopher Poole,
Here.
Mr. John Moody,
Here.
Mr. Matthew Muntz,
Here.
Mr. Derek Bontlitz,
Here.
Mr. Richard Snello,
Here.
Chairman Charles Gray.
Here. And the proof of publication, please.
The items were advertised in the Tampa Bay Times on March 5th, August 6th, and September 3rd, 2025, by affidavit of certified mailing and site postings.
Okay, thank you. No minutes to approve. Okay. So I'd like to welcome everybody here today, and for those of you who haven't been here before, we are the Planning Commission. We're appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, and we meet twice a month. We serve as a local planning agency, and we hold public hearings and transmit to the Board of County Commissioners our recommendations on comprehensive plan amendments, land development code amendments, and conditional use requests. The Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions, certain appeals, variance requests, and certain alternative standard requests. However, final decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. So if there's something happens today that you don't like, you can always appeal it to the board. If anyone is in opposition to any comprehensive plan amendment, land development code amendment, or any item where the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it's important for you to attend that the appropriate Board of County Commission meeting. For those of you who aren't familiar with the format of the meetings, there are three sections, and normally there are continuances, consent, and regular items. Continuances are items where the staff or the applicant has requested a continuance for any number of reasons. It's been our custom to grant those requests unless there are extenuating circumstances. Consent items, we'll read those one at a time. If you hear a consent item that you want to have taken from consent to go into the regular items, please raise your hand when we bring it up, and we'll pull it from consent. Otherwise, it stays on consent, and it'll be approved all in one vote, whatever ones we have on consent. Then there are the regular items, and those are the items that will be fully vetted today. There'll be applications presented, and everybody that has a question, that wants to ask a question, will have a chance to come up and state your concerns, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to come back and answer some of those questions. So applicants will have 5 minutes to make their presentation, and the questioners will have 3 minutes to come up and ask questions. We have a timer. When you hear the second buzzer, you'll know that your time is up. I don't think we've had any requests for additional time, have we? No? Okay. All right. So before we start the meeting, we'd like to open the meeting for public comment on any items that don't appear on the agenda today. So is there anybody here to speak on something that's not on today's agenda? It's not on today's agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please come up, give your name and your address, please.
Alan Rose, 10221 Hilltop Drive, Newport, Richey.
Okay, before you go any further, anyone who plans to give testimony today or ask questions today, if you'll please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn. If you plan to speak, we need you to be sworn.
You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is so help you God.
I do.
Okay?
Documents for the board?
Yes, we have a motion to receive and file.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Feel free to distribute, give one to the clerk, please, and then you can distribute the rest. Just, we'll share them. You know, it's no problem.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. All right, so we'll need your name and address then?
Alan Rose, 10221 Hilltop Drive, Newport Richey, Florida,
Okay.
34654. Just bringing this to your attention because I think I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but things we've discussed in the past and have come before you in the past. We've won, the community has won, and a 5-0 vote from you. Pushed forward, but when it goes to the county commissioners, it is not recommended, and it's somebody overrode you. That's what this first email I copy of, that's what you have there. Someone overrode you and said, no, we're going to approve this, putting 23 townhomes in back of people's houses and 30,000 square foot of commercial property. Just wanted you to be aware.
We are aware.
I did not, all that we went through to come to you and to go the right way and to win, and then we lost. But we haven't lost yet. That's as far as that goes. I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case.
Well, let me just explain to you that this board is appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. The county commissioners obviously are elected. They're the ones that are most responsible to you. What we do is we listen to what you have to say, and then we make a recommendation. We can approve certain things, variances and things like that, but when it comes to zoning items like that, we can make a recommendation, and it's up to the board to decide if they want to listen to our recommendation or if they got a better idea.
Okay.
So that's how it works, and that's why sometimes we get overridden, and we just have to suck it up.
And most recently, I brought to the board stormwater management. And between Little Road, Moon Lake Road, 52, and Ridge Road, a basin, storm basin, is being created because of all this development, the continued hardening of the shoreline. Just recently, I was back there, and I watched Rocky Sink fill up faster than I've ever seen it fill up and flood backwards into Bass Lake. Usually, it's meant so we go from Golden Acres, Bass Lake, Rocky Sink, and then we have the spillway, and then we have Hidden Lake. Well, Hidden Lake has been sold. Who knows what's going to happen there? I'm sure it's going to get rezoned and built on. The spillway, the top part was not open, and we flooded out because Rocky Sink flooded back into us. And I mean, it was going like a river. I went out and observed that. Instead of us going to Rocky Sink, because of all the hardening between Lowe's and the new VA, that water doesn't flow like it used to flow. Now all that water just went in and filled Rocky Sink and came right back into us. And put about 40 properties. Houses didn't go underwater, so you're not going to have flooding reports. But properties, all the grazed lands, people had to move their animals and whatnot because 1 to 3 acres of their property were underwater because of this. And I brought it to Stormwater, and Stormwater's working on it. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And this is an impaired
It's an
basin.
indication that your time's up.
Okay,
If you have anything else, real quick, we'll listen.
just real quick. This is something I've been working on. It's by DEP. It's an impaired basin. It covers that area. So we have to be cautious when we do this construction. We need to do it all. I understand. That's progress. But just know we have impaired water basins that need to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure,
So do you understand what an impaired basin is?
absolutely.
Okay, so what does that have to do with flooding? Because an impaired basin has to do with pollution in the basin.
And why did that happen? Because of a lack of flow. And the lack of flow through the creek and the Cody River. Both are impaired, and they're listed as impaired by DEP. And it's because they're not flowing. And I'm
having a hard time understanding. In one sentence, you're complaining about the flooding and that there's too much flow, and now you're saying there's no flow, and that's causing impairments.
Yes,
Maybe you can clarify what.
sure. The proper flow on the Coatee River will take our waters down the spillway, and they go to the Coatee River and out. Coatee River does not flow right now up in the northern sections. It goes all the way up to Cruz Lake. And that whole water basin is not flowing. The same with Bear Creek. If you go from Little Road up to 589 on the west side of 589, where it goes up to, it doesn't flow. And that's what's caused, because it's not flowing. Everything from all the farmlands and everyone flows down and holds, and now you have all the pollution and everything's held because it hasn't flowed properly. So you have a contaminated water basin. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We have more individuals signed up for public comment. Mr. Rose here was the first.
Okay.
Next would be Ms. Bartneck, and I apologize if I mispronounced that.
Hi, I live at, my name is Julia Bartunik, and I live at 2645 Meadowood Drive, Newport Richey, Florida, in beautiful Pasco County. I would like to share 1 minute about maintaining the aesthetics of Pasco County. Later, I will be sharing on P25. But I just want to say some of the newer developments in Pasco County, in the lower socioeconomic housing developments, I've heard some residents say that they look like 8th Ward housing in Chicago. And a lot of the newer developments are just ugly to me. They look like socialist or communist block housing. We can do better than this aesthetically in beautiful Pasco County, especially in the northeast rural areas. Central Pasco, Angeline is beautiful aesthetically because they save the trees and beautiful environments around it. They even have community gardens and such. We need, just because there's an area that's a lower socioeconomic housing development, doesn't mean that it should not meet the standards of aesthetics for Pasco County. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Well, we thank you very much. You didn't need to be so nervous. I said, don't be so nervous.
Oh, yeah.
We're nice. We're nice guys here and gals. Okay, who's next?
Mr. Chair, the next individual signed up for public comment is a Lisa Becarius.
Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you for listening to us here. It seems like everyone has the same agenda about our trees and our beautiful Pasco County, and we're nervous because...
Lisa, before you get started, I
Oh.
don't want to interrupt you, but we just, for the record, we need
Yes.
your name and address.
Oh, that's right. I'm
I know
sorry.
you've been sworn. I saw you swear. But
Lisa Becarius. I live at 10810 Kitten Trail, Hudson, Florida, 34669.
thank you.
I just have a comment about our trees and our beautiful landscape here in Pasco County and all of Florida, that we're all experiencing this massive development and all this destruction of our woodlands. Our woodlands are not just land. They have risen from our soil like a living cathedral, giving every creature the breath of life. To destroy the trees is to silence that sacred song. So just keep this in mind. We all live here. We all enjoy this beauty of our land. Let's try to preserve it as much as we can before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, well, let me just say that we are also concerned about that, especially lately. And that's why we're in the process of developing new ordinances relative to the trees, so we can have more tree canopy and they won't just go in and wipe trees out. So we're aware of that. We're working on it. Okay? Anybody else have comments up here about it? Okay, who's next?
Mr. Chair, the next individual signed up for public comment is a Shirin Nabi. I apologize if I mispronounced.
We have your name and address, please.
Shirin Nayabi. Oh, I'm really nervous. I don't do well
Okay,
in
take
public
a couple of
speaking.
deep breaths and take your
Whew,
time.
okay.
Speak
Two-
slowly.
Okay. Shirin Nayabi, 2839 Somerville Drive, Holiday, Florida. Do you need my zip code?
Not necessary.
Thank you. I'm actually here to make you aware of, there's a parcel of land that is on the corner of Camry and Gulf Trace. I live in Gulf Trace community, and it's about 35 acres. That's for sale, and it's a thriving gopher tortoise habitat, and I didn't know if you guys were aware of that. Next door, they had built the Harbor Palms, which was also a gopher tortoise habitat. And I know they're supposed to be relocated. I believe they're protected, but they were not. And so I kind of wanted to get ahead of this land. It's been for sale for probably, I think, at least 4 years. And it also has a lot of electrical transmission towers on it, so I didn't know if you guys were aware of that. I don't have any pictures. I could get those because, I mean, the whole land is just covered with gopher tortoises.
Right. Yeah, there is a relocation process.
Okay.
And any developer would have to pay to have those relocated.
Okay.
So, and if if they go in there to develop it, they're going to have to do that. That's a requirement that they do those kind of studies to show
How
how
do you
many
know if
turtles
they
are on
do
the
or not?
property.
How do we find out if they actually did it and didn't just
Well, you
bulldoze
can
the
check with
land?
the staff here.
When a developer applies for a permit here at the county, one of the things they're required to submit is a listed species survey to determine if there are any endangered or threatened species that occupy the property. And then as a condition of approval of the development, when it's finally approved, the county withholds their permit until they produce copies of the permits from the appropriate state and federal agencies demonstrating that they're going to relocate, in the case of gopher tortoises, relocate the gopher tortoises in accordance with state and federal law. And so all of our permitting records are public record. You can request them from the Planning, Development, and Economic Growth Department. I think the Natural Resources Department is the one who handles the listed species surveys, but copies of those are all available, and I can assure you that it is a condition of approval of every development. They will not issue your site placard that is your license to go start running the bulldozers until you've proven that you've got the appropriate permits and done the appropriate relocation or mitigation.
Okay, so someone does check up on them that they've done it? Okay, great.
Or the development.
Yeah,
I just didn't know if you guys were aware of
permits
it.
in that case are issued by the FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. And it needs to go through an authorized gopher tourist agent who's a permitted licensed professional.
Okay.
So it is definitely,
I had called them and they had come out, and so I
Okay.
just they weren't sure about the land that had already been developed, so I just thought I would just bring it to your guys' attention in case.
thank you.
So,
Yeah, if it's
thank you.
been developed, it has to go through that permit process. Now, it's not to say that somebody before applying for a permit couldn't illegally go on there and move gopher tortoises on there. But if you see something like that happen, that's reportable to the FWC and it's illegal.
Thank you so much.
How
Thank you
long
for
ago was
giving
that
me
other
this
property
time.
developed?
Probably about 3 years ago.
And where's this property you're referring to?
I'm sorry, it doesn't have an exact address. It seems to be on the corner of Camry Drive and Gulf Trace Boulevard.
Okay,
It's 35 acres,
okay.
and it's been for sale for a long time.
Doesn't have any legal access. It's been through my office a dozen times.
It's a crazy parcel of land, so. Are we good? Thank you
Yeah,
for your
yeah.
time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next.
Mr. Chair, we have one more individual who did not designate the item number, so if Melanie Lamberson is for public comment.
And Melanie, could we have your name and address?
My name is Melanie Lamberson. I live at 184 Spring Lake Highway, Brooksville. I'm not in your county, obviously,
You've been sworn.
but I'm a very close neighbor.
You've been sworn? Did you
Yes.
swear? Okay. Over here, I'm over here.
Okay, I wanted to talk about the tree mitigation. Apparently, the process is that it goes from being trees that we can see and appreciate to some distant swamp that we aren't going to be able to see and appreciate. And that has a really big impact on a person who is just driving down the road and sees these developments one after the other without a single tree. And also warehouses, they apparently are not required to have any kind of landscaping whatsoever. And there's just these great big concrete blocks, massive. And I just think that there should be more trees dispersed around the county where people can enjoy them and appreciate them. I guess.
Would anybody up here like to?
So also, how does it,
Sorry.
who monitors it? You know, like I was reading through it and it says, you know, if the developer cuts down 10 massive oak trees, they have to buy 10 massive oak trees in some distant other place. But who even monitors that?
Yeah, well, there's a tree ordinance in place now, but we're trying to improve the tree ordinance so that we do keep more trees, and we've recognized that's an issue, and we're trying to deal with it now. I'm sure some of the engineers that are on this board here might have comments about how that works in the tree ordinances. Somebody like to comment on that?
Mr. Engel was.
Another suggestion that I think
Dave?
is really great.
Comment?
Yeah, I just. Hi, David Engel, Planning and Economic Development Director. Just an overview.
I don't know if your mic's on.
Yeah, I'll get up here. Do you mind, ma'am?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Thank you. David Engel, Planning and Economic Development Director. So we have a multi-pronged approach dealing with our canopy trees. First step is the board has passed a resolution increasing the fees to cut down trees in our county. And what that does is it incentivizes the developer to protect the existing canopy wherever possible. Number two, we are working very aggressively with with a tree protection ordinance, and by November, we're just refining our stakeholder engagement. We're going to be back here with a draft to protect our trees. And number three, we also provide on-site inspection. There's an arborist report and a tree survey on every project from now on going forward. And we identify areas of mature canopy where we'd like to preserve, and we charge more money for cutting down those type of heritage trees. And it stimulates and motivates preservation. And just to respond to the young lady regarding warehouses and et cetera, every project in Pasco County, when it's constructed, has to meet our landscaping and tree standards. And you may not be able to see them from the road. It depends on how far you are. But you just take, let's say, the Rooker project at Overpass Road and Old Pasco Road. There is extensive landscaping there, and all of those driveways will have trees on them. So, and that's a requirement. I think there was one other question you had. No other question?
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, so yes, on the use of funds, the board now has opened up the spigot to use these tree mitigation funds to get canopy coverage throughout the county. So we're actually providing shade trees and understory trees along our right-of-ways and our corridors, public properties, parks, et cetera. So you're going to see millions of dollars go out with new tree canopy plantings very shortly. Within the end of the year, into the planting season, we're going to begin. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that.
Good deal. I was just going to say that possibly another way to have it so that we can see more trees other places would be to financial incentives to landowners to preserve trees and to plant. It seems like if They thought they were getting a tax break, that people would get out there and plant some trees.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, that was the end of our list of individuals signed up for public comment.
Okay.
One more.
Oh. We missed one.
First signed up.
Yes, my name is Joyce DeFalco. I'm at 12918 Fairway Drive in Hudson, Florida. I just want to ask that you please support and save our trees, because it does support and save wildlife. And when you destroy our beautiful trees, you destroy their habitat and it kills our wildlife. And that's very cruel. So please keep all the trees intact. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, any comments from up here? If not, guess we can go to the regular agenda.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission members. My name is Kurt Syverson of Planning Development and Economic Growth. Filling in for Gianna, regrettably. Item PC1, you are sitting as the local planning agency for. That's PDE 250201, a comprehensive plan amendment in the name of CPS 2508. This is in the name of 6230 Stone Road Industrial, providing for a comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use maps 2-15 and sheet 10, changing from ROR, retail office residential, to IO, light industrial, on approximately 4.18 acres of real property located on the south side of Stone Road, approximately 500 feet east of the intersection of US Highway 19 and Stone Road. Mr. Chair, this item was published as a consent item. However, the applicant would like to request a continuance to the October 16th Planning Commission.
Okay, October 16th,
Yes, sir.
all right.
For Richey.
Newport Richey, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit Newport Richey, yeah. Okay.
Move
So
to continue
it-
item PC1 to the October 16th meeting in Newport
Okay,
Richey.
but before we do that, is there anybody here to speak on that item?
Yeah, I think we have to see if there's public comment.
I don't see any comment. So, okay, do we have a motion then, John?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay. Continued.
Excellent. Moving to our regular agenda here, item PC2 is item PDE 257781, a zoning amendment in the name of Enclave at Livingston, to be presented by staff.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, William Vermillion, Planning Development, Economic Growth. This is Enclave at Livingston Master Planned Unit Development, PDE 257781. You'll remember this project from February, March, April, May, all the way to September. So we'll give a brief refresh and then some of the applicant's changes that were related to transportation concerns that we had at the last hearing. The current zoning is AR, agricultural residential, going to master planned unit development with a future land use of residential 6. This is 178 townhomes on approximately 46.3 acres. That comes out to roughly 3.8 dwelling units an acre density, so well under that residential 6 future land use. This is directly west of 20 Mile Level Road and east of the Collier Parkway and State Road 54 intersection. Here's the location map. Here is a contextual map of the property here. You can see that the subject site is outlined in blue. In red, you have the Livingston Road extension as it travels north along the existing 20 Mile Level Road, the Academy at the Lakes, as well as the Catholic Church and the Terabella MPUD, which is a mixture of multifamily townhomes, single-family detached, and roughly 100,000 square feet of medical office and 60,000 square feet of shopping center. the overall location map aerial, the current zoning, and the future land use of residential 6. Here's the MPD master plan. The key notes to point out on this are the category 1 wetlands that encumber the property. Moving into the binding concept plan or the binding MPD plan, whatever the nomenclature is these days. You can see the red townhomes in the centralized portion of this are the rear-loaded townhomes that are alley access, and then along the periphery of the project, the orange townhomes are front-loaded. For the access portion here, the portion of the exhibit, previously there had been 2 options as it related to 20 Mile Level Road and the Livingston Avenue extension. This is the final roadway exhibit showing that 20 Mile Level Road will remain open and will have the turn there into the Livingston Avenue extension, along with the 8-foot path that will be constructed within this right-of-way as it enters into the subject property. This is the right-of-way typical section for Livingston Avenue. And into the changes that have happened since the Planning Commission has last saw this, mostly surrounding transportation. So, as was indicated on the plan you just saw, as well as the roadway exhibit, this project is extending Livingston Avenue north to the project access and dedicating right-of-way to the northern boundary, which is included in the cost feasible plan for 2050's LRTP. A new timing and phasing was conducted for this. The previous timing and phasing, as was brought up in May, had utilized the old 2045 LRTP and the subsequent cost affordable plan. So this new timing and phasing contemplated the 2050 cost feasible plan. Like I briefly spoke to on a previous slide, at one point in time there was 2 options for 20 Mile Level Road. At this point in time, now the proposal is for the 20 Mile Level Road to not be closed and will be realigned to intersect with the new section of Livingston Avenue Vision Road as shown on Exhibit 2 as previously shown. There is now also restrictions on construction access. Some of the citizens in the past had some concerns about construction access that would be happening on existing 20 Mile Level Road. There is now existing Condition 25 in your conditions of approval agenda packet, which speaks to the restrictions on construction in 20 Mile Level Road. And to be specific, the applicant shall stabilize Livingston Road and use the extension for construction access. 20 Mile Level Road shall only be used to construct utility improvements and to mobilize equipment to stabilize Livingston Road extension. And the larger transportation improvement that impacts the intersection and its capacity currently at Livingston Avenue and State Road 54 is the applicant is constructing a left turn lane, a shared through and right turn lane, and 1 right turn lane at that intersection. And what that does, while of course this project can't fully mitigate for the volume capacity ratio that we currently see on 54 today, which is above a 1.0, what they can do is to lower the VC ratio at this intersection by improving more capacity with the right turn lane and the through lane, which then subsequently changes the timing for the residents at that intersection. Mr. Steve Henry and the county engineer are here. If you'd like a more in-depth analysis about how much the VC ratio changes and the timing changes subsequently. There's one variation analysis from this from 9016011. That's to not provide an interconnect to the south. As previously shown on the master plan, the southern portion of the property is largely encumbered by Category 1 wetlands and an existing platted townhome project. With that, that comes with a recommendation of approval with conditions. I'm here for any questions.
Okay. Any questions?
My only question is about the kind of the vision road for Livingston, because if you look at the original vision plan, it looks like Livingston heads due north and kind of cuts through the corner of the property.
Sure.
And so is the plan now to make the new vision road of Livingston basically 20-mile stretch or 20-mile level?
Let me back up to the master plan. So originally, when GIS did the overlay for the Vision Road, they utilized map 735 from the comprehensive plan, which is just an approximation of all the vision roads in the county that was overlaid via GIS.
Right.
So when this project came in, what that would do is put that right-of-way directly in the middle of that Category 1 wetland as it moved northbound. So this alignment and dedicating its right-of-way shifted the alignment along the property boundary in between that wetland and the floodplain area you can see there on the right side of the road. We don't have any further plans for the alignment as it moves north. So what the GIS layer shows currently based off 735, you can see an approximate, but the county does not have an alignment past this property boundary.
But for now, the vision road for Livingston through the east side of this property is to kind of basically follow the current 20-mile level road curve, correct?
That'd be correct.
Because that's what it looks like, with your master plan, that it curves and it connects with the existing 20-mile level. And so in theory, that 20-mile level road will become Livingston, at least to the northern boundary of the county until more plans are made.
Right, until it goes back over to Collier. You can see on 735 and on GIS, you get to a certain point north, not until it's south of Plantation Palms and the baseball fields, where it cuts across moving west to then connect with Collier Parkway. But that exact alignment.
So that's the reason for the large dedication of the right-of-way there on the eastern edge of the property, is so that you have the ability to maybe, because right now it looks like a pretty sharp curve that's going to be there from Livingston as it curves into 20-mile level. So that right-of-way will allow you to maybe straighten out the curve in the future. Is that the idea?
Oh, I was speaking to off, when I was speaking about, I was speaking far north outside of the property.
Yeah, no, I
boundary.
understand that.
Okay, yes.
That was my follow-up question.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak here on this? Barb?
Mr.
Come on.
Chair. Oh, I'm sorry.
Please go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Staff first.
I forgot the order here, Barbara.
Okay.
No one else on the list?
We have individuals sign up for comment.
Okay.
Barbara.
Good afternoon, Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Graham Boulevard, Newport Richey, 34652. Our presentation focuses on what's changed since May 15, 2025, when we had a full hearing before you all. And I know we're going to have another hearing today, and I think it's great. We've been actually talking to neighbors here, trying to work different questions out, and so more participation to me is better. But our presentation focuses on what we've done since May 15th. You also have a PowerPoint that I handed out, which is our PowerPoint exactly as it was presented on May 15th. So as staff has pointed out to you, we added a new construction access condition. This was a result of a neighborhood meeting, a voluntary neighborhood meeting that we had, and we were asked that question, what can you do about construction access? We really want to limit construction access on existing 20-mile level road. So this is the condition that came out of that. We got new traffic counts. We updated, so we've been doing things between May and now. We updated our timing phasing analysis. Analysis still shows an existing level of service sufficiency for the intersection of State Road 54 and Livingston. It shows that the overall delay may increase 3.6 seconds with project traffic. I think it's important to get some context of our project versus the existing deficiency that exists at that intersection. The code is very clear at 901, that's like an eye test here, 901-2H3, that this project is not responsible for reducing or eliminating the existing deficiencies. But we didn't stop there, because we could have said, look, our impact is de minimis, and we're only like 3.6 seconds additional delay. We could have said that. We could have cited this and said we're not responsible to do anything more. But we didn't stop there. We looked at, okay, what can we do? What can this one project do? A project that's consistent with the land use in a great location, what can it do? And a great project. So one was, and you've heard, Livingston Avenue is a vision road, and we propose to extend that vision road to the project access. You can see it's in your cost feasible, your vision improvement, and that is your ultimate vision road network. We provide right-of-way further, as Mr. Pontwell has pointed out, so not only just to our entrance, but also all the way to our property line to allow for the future extension north of our entrance of Livingston Road Extension. Exactly how that goes when it leaves the portion that we're going to do and our tie back in, a temporary tie back in to existing 20-mile level road, that's up to the county. So, but we're doing it up to our entrance, we're providing right-of-way on our north property, and ultimately where the vision road goes after that, the county will have to do further analysis. We have heard about an intersection improvement. This is one of the main things we did. Like I said, we didn't stop at the fact that we are not responsible for existing deficiencies, and we're only going to add 3.6-second delay to that intersection with our traffic. We didn't stop there. We spent months looking at what can we do to this intersection. Remember, this is DOT's roadway, so we had to coordinate with FDOT, Pasco County, Links and Associates, and they came up with this improvement that you see described here that will increase the capacity of the intersection. Does it fix magically 54 doesn't have any issues anymore? No. But it is something that this project can do, and it does reduce the VC ratio that's existing out there today as a result of the improvement. We also pay mobility fees, as you know, and the project will pay mobility fees. So that is my presentation. There was a couple housekeeping things that I wanted to do because I promised the residents. They were, one of our neighbors was kind to point out that I had a screw up in our conditions of approval. So if you look at 24, condition 24, there's a second paragraph there that if you read it, talking about fencing and closing 20-mile level road. I kept wondering why we kept getting the question, why, that aren't you closing 20-mile level road? And I'm like, no, we're just realigning it. Well, that's because this second paragraph is in here and it needs to be removed. So on the record, we'd like to, if you choose to move this forward today and recommend approval, if you'll include removing the second paragraph of condition 24. The other thing that we wanted to put on the record is that our conditions show our minimum product at 20 feet wide. Our proposal is, and what we've been showing in meetings and including our neighborhood meeting, was minimum 24-foot product. I caught that inconsistency. My teams never say something and then do something else in our paperwork, so we'll want to move that minimum product to 24. Again, you can include that in a motion if that's your desire at the end of the public hearing. The other thing is we have heard from our neighbor to the south in Huntington Ridge. We have a common property boundary, townhome to townhome. It's actually will be a side of one of our townhome buildings to their rear. And the question was, what are you going to do about buffering? What's the proposal for buffering? Your code, because it's townhome to townhome, doesn't require a buffer, just a setback. But we told the resident that we would put on the record and add to our conditions between now and the board, assuming this moves forward to the board, that we will do a 10-foot type B buffer at our common property boundary with Huntington Ridge, and we will include an opaque fence. Right now, a type B, you can do a hedge instead of a fence, but we told our neighbor that we would add that we will do an opaque fence, no wood or no chain link, because that's what your code says. So we wanted to put that on the record as well. My team is here. We can present again what we presented in May, but I think what I'd like to do is let's hear people's concerns and questions, and then we'll come back and talk some more.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on the list.
Mr. Chair, the first individual signed up to speak on this item is a Melissa Blackburn via WebEx.
Okay. Melissa, are you present?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Have you been sworn, Melissa?
Fantastic. My name is Melissa Blackburn. I live at 2734 Calvano Drive in the Terabella neighborhood. One question that I did have, and I know it's mentioned in this plan about,
Hey, before you go
sorry.
further, let me just have you sworn, okay? So
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
if you raise your right hand, I can see you. So
Yes.
don't try to trick me.
I'm not tricking you.
All right. All right.
From the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God. I do.
Yes.
Okay. Jeremy, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. My main question is around the traffic with this development. I'm in Terabella right there in the same area. And I know it's mentioned about adding a left turn lane, straight and right, I think headed northbound. However, we have that today. So are we talking about adding existing lanes to what is there today?
Well, go ahead with your questions and we'll answer those when the applicant comes back up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my main question is,
Okay.
I have concern. I have children that live in this neighborhood. It's a heavily utilized intersection. We've had several fatality accidents. At that intersection, our exit from the neighborhood at Via Bella is already very congested. So many of us use the Livingston exit because of the traffic light. And so my concern is on the traffic at that main intersection and causing more strain there on an already, troubled area.
Okay. Thank you. We'll try to get that answered for you.
Thank you.
Who would be next?
Mr. Chair, the next individual signed up to speak is a Patty Draper.
Patty?
Yes. I have not been sworn in.
Ah,
I was talking.
yeah. You just couldn't, you had to tell me you want to be honest, right?
Do I have? Oh,
You swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God.
yes. Good afternoon. I have a small 7-slide presentation as an overview for Huntington Ridge. I spoke with Barb and Jeremy earlier, and some of our concerns have been addressed, and I feel pretty comfortable that, we'll come to some kind of resolution. I don't know whether you guys want to see this or not.
Before we go any further, I just need your full name and address.
Of course you do. I'm Patty Draper, 2133 Park Crescent Drive in Land O'Lakes.
Okay.
I'm just
Now,
gonna-
do you know how much time your presentation is going to take?
So I'm going to take 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, just very quickly. Again,
Motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
I'm sorry?
And you're just too quick for us.
Again, Huntington Ridge overview. We're a small, gated 900-unit townhome community between 20 Mile Level and Collier Parkway. On the next slide, while we do share the same concerns as our neighbors on 20 Mile Level in regards to traffic and flooding, even though the FEMA maps for that area haven't been updated since 2014, we do share those concerns. But for this presentation, on slide 2, we want to focus on the north side of Huntington Ridge, where we have the 2 buildings in the little red box and a small retention pond. The next slide shows the original plan by Stanley Martin that were given to us at the May meeting, and it does show a 15-foot type B buffer along the west side of the property with its labeled number 8, but no buffer or setback is designated against the Huntington Ridge townhomes, which again are the bottom of that cul-de-sac area. Now, I will say, in talking to Barb and to Jeremy, that seems to have been addressed, and it's in the record that there's going to be a fence and some type of a buffer there. So that's already been part of the record. I just felt like, as Huntington Ridge, we needed to go on the record too to talk to you guys.
Okay.
Very quickly, the next one shows elevation concerns. Again, Jeremy has talked to me about the elevation. The problem there is that the applicant's property is higher than Huntington Ridge, and you can see the slope into the backyard of our townhomes. We can estimate that that slope is anywhere between 2.5 and 4 feet. Next slide is just showing the runoff behind those two. Our residents are constantly working back there to ensure that the drainage continues. We've had to change vegetation, we've had to change, we've had to trench, and it's all because we have had runoff in the past from the different elevations there. Last one is the retention pond where the stormwater flows. This water in there shows just 2 days of heavy rain. There was no hurricanes. It basically was just 2 days of heavy rain. And as I looked on the map on...
Keep going.
As I looked on the map of what we were given by Stanley Martin, you can see where our retention pond and their 2 retention ponds butt right up against each other. So we, again, we were very, very concerned about any runoff increasing some flooding into our area. But again, Jeremy, thank you. He's addressed it with us. He's somewhat made us comfortable with what's going on. And then I just want to just say in conclusion, why I was going to come in here and ask you guys, ask you guys to either deny or at least postpone the concerns we have here. I feel like in talking to Barbara and Jeremy, our concerns have been addressed with the 10-foot fence and some type of a buffer there. But I feel like the privacy and the security of Huntington Ridge needs to be maintained, and our property values are concerned about us too with the development going up. So thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it.
So can I just ask to clarify?
Sure.
Again, the LDC doesn't require any buffer in between like developments, but you said they have agreed to a fence and...
They have agreed to a fence on the property line, Jeremy? On the property line. I think there's still some questions whether there's going to be a buffer there too.
Yeah, I think what Barbara said was they were offering a 10-foot type B buffer with an opaque fence.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that right? Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
So you no longer, with those changes, you no longer have opposition to the project?
I feel like we can work with the developer.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next.
Mr. Chair, we do not have more individuals pre-registered to speak on this item.
Okay, very good. Well, great. Barbara, would you have any comments on? We had a few questions there that are still left unanswered, I think. And Jeremy is the civil engineer that she's referring to. Some of you might have been wondering who she was talking to.
Jeremy Couch with Tampa Civil. I would like for Steve to go through and tell you about the improvement that he's proposed to the 54 Livingston intersection. Ms. Blackburn had asked about that from Terabella. And then, of course, if you want to hear about the drainage discussion between Huntington Ridge and Jeremy Couch, Ms. Draper, we can certainly have Jeremy talk about that, but I'd rather have the neighbors and talking neighbor to neighbor.
Yeah.
And if they have any more questions, hopefully have my phone number and I'll get them in touch with my team. So I think it'd be helpful for Steve to explain that improvement to the intersection, which Ms. Blackburn asked about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve?
Good afternoon. Steve Henry, Links & Associates, 5023 West Laurel, and I have been sworn. Do we have an Elmo? And I've got extra copies if anybody wants one. But essentially what we're doing is, again, this is a relatively small project, so we looked at the intersection and trying to figure out what this project could potentially do to help the intersection, help the capacity of it. And when you look northbound, the right turn volume there is almost 300 cars in an hour. The through volume is only 50. So what we were proposing, and you can see it here, I don't know how well. Yeah, let me
Okay. Steve, let's get a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So what we're doing is to try to help balance that is we're taking the existing through lane and making it a shared through right. And so what that will do is allow, a little bit of distribution of the traffic between those two lanes. And we have spoken to both DOT and the county, and they are supportive of this geometry. It doesn't really change the timing of the signal because that northbound lane, it doesn't change, it'll run with the south. It's just a matter of being able to put some of those right turns into the through lane, because right now, when it happens, the right turn backs up into the through lane. So this way, it allows that to function a little bit better, and that's what we're proposing here.
Okay.
But we're not adding a lane, we're just modifying the lane geometry and the signals.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't, did Jeremy want to speak to, or no? It's not necessary.
I don't think it's necessary. I'm making sure that Ms. Draper has his phone number, so they can continue to talk. So I was remiss to ask you to receive and file my PowerPoints, so if you could receive and file those two PowerPoints that I had given to you all.
We did.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign?
So I can catalog those three things again for the record. Along our Huntington Ridge common property boundary, 10-foot type B buffer with an opaque fence, no wood or chain link. Remove the second paragraph of condition 24. Change our minimum lit width for our townhomes from 20 to 24, which also addresses Mrs. Draper's concern about property values. And these are 24-foot townhomes are a very nice townhome product. So we'd like to add that as well to make sure that we're going to do what we say we're going to do regarding the quality of these townhomes. And we're available if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Any questions? If not, I hear a motion. Anybody?
So, yeah, I'll move approval of the item with the modifications to the conditions as stated by Ms. Wilhite.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign? Okay. All right. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Did a great job. Go home and go to sleep. I'm busy taking care of.
Cup's not big enough.
Jaeger, I saw that. Yeah. I get them all the time.
It was one of those days where I had breakfast at 12:30.
Huh?
Started drinking my morning coffee at like 11. Didn't even have a chance to. I was right into it as soon as I got up.
Okay, that's what I don't waste the paper.
All right, how you doing, David? But you have one of those every day.
Yeah, we love dumpsters. We always put them on fire. I just wheel in.
Got a couple of them going on myself.
Some lady was complaining and she wanted the zoning. I gave it to her and she said it's fine.
It's fine.
I don't get that one.
Because you gave her zoning determination?
Well, it was, she didn't get the answer she wanted. She's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that was after the hurricane. Yeah, did he tell you the whole story, or?
He did. He's an interesting animal. I spent some time.
He's a sweet pup.
He's like a puppy that looks like a rat.
Yeah, yeah, he's big and old man now, and his back legs don't work so well. He's 12 for a shepherd. Yeah. So we're dealing with some skin issues with him right now, trying to get him into it. We think he was allergic to the carprofen we were giving for his joints, so we switched him to something else. But he's great. We think he was a service dog at some point because he lived with a veteran for like 9 years. The way he acts, he's great.
Big heart. I got suckered in last year. I've always been a dog person, but I actually like these cats.
right now. I mean, he literally has a life safety hazard ongoing on his property.
Good.
He built property has no water and sewer.
Yeah, right.
It's a private school.
It's a long ball.
Fire camp.
I hear ya.
Oh, yeah. I think
Yeah.
I'm ready, yeah.
And they built it too
Let's
high.
roll.
And there's no
Okay. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order again. Start where we left off.
Moving to the ordinances here, item PC3, you are sitting as the local planning agency for. That's PDE 25-0332, an ordinance amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, sections 522.9, 901, 901.1, 901.6, 901.7, 901.8, Appendix A definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency. This is to be presented by staff.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission. Rebecca Bogue, Planning Development and Economic Growth, here today to prevent Infrastructure Standards Land Development Code Amendment. All right, so this slide I'm just illustrating that the changes made to 522.9s for internal consistency with our proposed 901.7, updating a cross-reference. I also need to note that the reference in the red line in the packet is incorrect. It should read 901.7D, not 901.7E. We're also updating section 901.F to reference our current resolution for the county typicals for our major roads. Currently, our codes references a resolution from 2004, current resolutions from 2019. We're also adding language to indicate that we're putting these typical sections in our development review manual, which will hopefully make them easier to find. Okay. So here's 901.7. We're doing some more updates for cross-references. We're also updating 901.64, the pavement design standards. Currently, our code's requirements for pavement design standards are in conflict with the pavement design standards in the Green Book, so we're updating that for consistency. And the bigger change we're presenting here today is a rewrite of our bicycle and pedestrian facilities. We are consolidating sections 901.7 bicycle facilities and 901.8 pedestrian facilities into one comprehensive section. Our goal is to improve bicycle and pedestrian on-site connections, update it for consistency with the Florida Green Book. We're adding a new definition for multi-use paved trails. We're hoping that this proposed LDC will improve safety for bicyclists and pedestrians and strengthen the county's position to require land development to construct segments of our multimodal network. All right, so kind of overview of the biggest changes here. So currently, our bicycle facilities is applicable in Res 3 future land use or higher in Type 1 streets or subdivision collectors. And the facilities required include a bicycle lane, which is a 4-foot shoulder, or a 12-foot multi-use path. What we're proposing is a land development code that would be applicable to all development sites, regardless of the future land use, and it would be by street type. So on our arterials and collectors would have to comply with our accepted typical sections, which currently reflect a 12-foot multi-use pale on the south or east side of the roadway, an 8-foot multi-use paved trail on one side, and no bicycle facilities on our residential streets. When we presented this to the ODT and HRT, there was some concerns about requiring one side of the road versus the other, and questions about what we would do in the event that there's an existing alignment. Our goal with this rewrite is to ensure consistency. So ensure consistency with our typical sections and to ensure that we have a consistent connected alignment for our multi-use paths on at least one side of our streets. specifically our major roads, our arterials and collectors. We also have language in the proposed LDC that states where there's an existing alignment, you're to follow that existing alignment. So State Road 52 is an example where there's a multi-use path on the north side. If someone comes in with a development on the south side, we'd be requiring a sidewalk there and not an additional multi-use path. So on to pedestrian facilities. It's very similar to the way the bicycle facilities section is currently written. It's applicable to Res 3 future land use or higher on all street types except for alleyways. Their developments now are required to provide sidewalks on both sides of the road. Currently, they're required to provide a 5-foot sidewalk on subdivision collectors and a 4-foot sidewalk on residential streets. We're proposing a code that is applicable to all development sites. A 5-foot sidewalk is required on the opposite side of the street of the multi-use paved trail. Subdivision collectors have to provide 5-foot sidewalks, and the residential streets we're upgrading to a 5-foot sidewalk rather than the 4 it currently states. We got some questions on this regarding how this proposed LDC would affect rural areas. In section 604, which is the Northeast Rural Overlay Area, there's language there that would exempt developments in the Northeast Rural Area from building sidewalks. And our rural typical sections for our major streets do require a multi-use path on the south or east side currently on our major roads. We're also adding a section here to require pedestrian circulation and connectivity on site. So this section would require site developments to connect all principal structures via sidewalks. All principal structures have to connect to each other, to the public sidewalk, and where there are parking lots with 100 parking spaces or more, they have to provide a safe, direct path from the principal structure to the parking lot. We're also adding a payment in lieu of construction option. So this would apply to development sites where site constraints would make it difficult to or impossible to build the bike or pedestrian facility. In that case, they would submit a cost estimate to the county, we'd review it, and take a payment in lieu of constructing. Or where we have a facility that's already programmed in the CIP, we wouldn't make them build it just to come back and tear it out. This is a graphic depicting our vision, what we hope this proposed LDC would create. This kind of represents like an urban area where we have the 12-foot multi-use path on the south side on our major roads, 8-foot on the subdivision collector, no bicycle facilities on the residential roads, and nothing on our alleyways. I forgot to mention in prior slides that we did bring this to the Tampa Bay Builders Association for review and comment. Most of their comments involved construction materials, what would be allowed for the boardwalks, multi-use paths, and sidewalks. We did communicate with them that we're willing to work with them, review those comments, and continue to make revisions as we move this forward through the process. This was also presented to our internal staff from Public Works, Transportation Engineering, Parks, Rec, and Natural Resources. So with that, we recommend the local planning agency find the proposed amendments consistent with comprehensive plan. And I'm available for your questions.
Can you go back to the slide about the applicability?
Yes. This one or bike?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
For pedestrian facilities, under the new ordinance, all development sites, does that include an MRS subdivision?
No. Well, the way I understand, MRS usually fall within the northeast rural area, and those would
They can be anywhere. They can be anywhere where there's a Res 1, AG, AR, flu.
Then I would say no, this does not exempt that. But if that's a concern, we can certainly consider making that change.
So then what's the necessity? So the MRS subdivisions and conservation subdivisions are limited to, I think, flu categories that are lower than Res 3. So what's the necessity to apply this now, I mean, in the current code, the applicability is to Res 3 flu or higher, then why the need to make all flus included?
So the intent here is, the way it's written right now with Res 3 future land use or higher, it makes it kind of difficult to interpret and administer, because then there are questions such as, does that include MPUDs? Is an MPUD future land use or higher? Is a commercial property higher than a future land use?
I'm confused by that statement because you're mixing and matching. What does a zoning district? A zoning district is irrelevant of the future land use category. If an MPUD is a zoning designation, not a future land use designation, so I'm not understanding the difficulty in administering this.
I would say that a PUD is future land use. So I think
We have a PD, future land use.
yeah.
Okay. And
So that same issue would be there. The issue is, what do we mean by a Res 3 future land use or higher? And there's some ambiguity in that.
Okay. And I'm just not seeing the ambiguity.
Okay.
The lower ones are the agricultural ones, conservation, and Res 1. Everything else is a higher future land use, employment center, town center, planned development. So I'm confused as to the ambiguity.
And furthermore, they're changing. Or the future land use is changing in
Well,
the
I
current plan
agree.
updates.
Yeah, so we're also trying to create something that we won't necessarily have to completely revise when we update our future land use.
Well, if you're going to change if we won't even have a Res 3 anymore, then won't you have to change this?
Well, I've got a question, John. I'm Mr. Moody. Actually, I'm scrolling through this, Rebecca, and I'm not finding in the actual reference to the Res 3 in the draft code. I always viewed this when I was working on it with you as it's attached to street type, and that was it. That's your only qualifier
Correct.
applicability. So I'm not quite
Yes.
sure where the land use is coming in now at this point, because I don't see
Because
it.
the land
It
use,
is, it's in that
Where
land
is it? I'm
development,
missing
it's in the
it.
land development codes.
it's in the current code.
Okay. What section, please?
She said
Of
it
the
was
red line?
9018.
Yeah.
The red
The
line
red
is
line,
9017.
9017B on
Yeah,
page
9017B.
6 of the red line. All development sites as defined in Appendix A of the code.
So currently,
Oh, I was looking actually for the Res 3 here.
Yes.
Okay, got it, okay.
Rebecca,
yeah.
Good afternoon, Nick Uren, County Engineer. I think the MRS concern is addressed because the MRS access ways are not streets. So this says that you have to build sidewalks on streets that are residential and on subdivision collectors, county collectors, arterials. MRS access ways don't constitute streets. So I don't think it creates an obligation to construct sidewalks along MRS access ways.
I'm not sure there's a need for sidewalks in rural-type subdivisions. Let's say somebody wants to come in, let's say we want to build I'll use an example. I think one of the commissioners lives there, Aristida. They don't have any sidewalks.
I will
Tell
say
you
that,
in my own neighborhood, I don't have any sidewalks, and we all live on acre or better lots. And because our lots are big and we don't have a bunch of traffic, I can literally walk right down the middle of my street any time of the day and not really worry about getting hit by a car. So I'm not understanding the need that just because it's a street, that it necessarily has to have the sidewalk.
Even better
I
example.
do understand when we have dense developments, that does make sense to me, but when we have more rural type developments, what's the need?
Yeah, Aristide's not even as good of an example as like out, by Bellamy Brothers, the 5-acre lots out there. You wouldn't need sidewalks in it.
Right.
I don't think it's our intention to build sidewalks in rural areas, and we have discussed internally with staff
But that's
writing
not
it.
what this says.
We have discussed internally with staff rewriting this to add something that would exempt those rural areas. We just haven't figured out exactly how to write that yet.
Well, then isn't it premature to bring this to the Planning Commission as a proposed ordinance if you haven't figured it out yet?
We do our best.
Something you might consider is maybe by lot size.
Okay.
Question on the multi-use pass, just for my clarification, if you could flip back on one more slide. Is the specifying of the location, south or east, is that just to have typical schematics and all that? Is that the
Yes,
only
we're
reason
hoping.
for that?
We're just hoping to align this LDC with what's currently reflected in our typical sections.
Okay.
So how does that work for a traffic circle?
I think most of our traffic circles are done with FDOT standards, and I believe that those, are they 8 feet along the traffic circles? But I know we build them right now, like in our various subdivisions, with multi-use paths on one side. And from what I've seen, the multi-use path kind of terminates at our traffic circles, goes to a wider sidewalk and comes back down.
So shouldn't that be reflected, or should there be some language? The problem is there's now, you create an ambiguity in the code. You say it must be on the south and east side, and then, okay, I've got a traffic circle. Well, I actually, before I came here, tried to sketch what that would look like, and I'm like, what is this, a bunch of bullseyes? We would have to make concentric circles around the traffic circle?
I hadn't thought of that,
And then at
honestly,
what point,
so.
at some point, the multi-use path is no longer on the south end or the east side if it's going around in a circle.
Yeah, and you may be difficult too with roads that are diagonal to try to figure out, all right, we're going to hold it to the north or the south parameter or the west parameter. So that's
Isn't the south and east just a recommendation
south
for
and east,
guidance?
rather.
Isn't there language in there that,
Well, the language says it will be, other than unless it was a previously approved MPUD.
That's the way I read it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the reason for my question.
Can certainly take those concerns back to our team and see what we can do to address them. I don't have definitive answers for you right now.
Yeah, instead of specifying cardinal direction, you may just want to say on one side of the road, you know, that you have your multi-use and the other side the sidewalk. That way it can be decided based on the situation.
I think the trouble we have with that is if we have the developer comes in, they're like, oh, well, we want to make sure that everything's going to be consistently aligned, and we don't want to run into trouble where, well, we don't want to put it on this side, put it on the other side, and then it doesn't get built on either side because nobody wants to build it on even one side.
Well, if the ordinance is forcing them to build it, then, you know, I actually sketched this out to myself as well, just what does it look like if they're all on the south and east side? And the conclusion that I came to when I drew the sketch was somebody's living in the world where they're fantasizing that no one ever has to cross the street. Well, you do. So whether we decide to put them on the right side, the south side, or the north side, or the east side, or the west side, there's inevitably going to be a situation where some pedestrian or some bicyclist or some golf carter must cross the street. So as long as the appropriate intersection precautions are taken, I'm not sure I understand the difference.
I think we're talking about two different things because we're talking about the multi-use trail, which is more expensive to construct than the sidewalk, and who's ultimately responsible for that. And I think she was trying to set the
Well, I think
standard of
the
what
ordinance
side
sets
that's gonna be.
forth who's responsible for it. What I'm getting about is specifying, and I think that's why the builders, when you met with the builders, they had concerns that you're trying to regulate by ordinance which side of the street it goes on, and I think that what you'll end up doing, just like we have alternative standards looked at for every development that goes through, when we create an ordinance like that that is too rigid, all you're going to end up doing is processing a bunch of alternative standard requests to change it, because there's never going to be a situation in which everybody can comply with that. It makes more sense that the county engineer down here, who's in charge of these transportation decisions, looks at that and then decides what's the best thing for that project, rather than regulate it. Otherwise, you're going to be processing alternative standard after alternative standard, because there's inevitably going to be cases that it doesn't work.
I agree 100%.
Tack it on a case-by-case basis instead.
I feel like that could be potentially problematic because our goal is to kind of create a standard, and just like we don't want a bunch of alternative standards coming in to request a different side of the street, I don't know if it's reasonable to ask one person on our staff to make that determination which side it goes on for each and every project that comes through the county.
Well, if I have a neighborhood that's not connected to another one, what difference does it make?
Part of what this is proposing is to apply this to site developments. So to individual site developments, not just like MPUDs or larger developments. So if we're applying it to site developments, then in my perspective, we need to identify which side of the road it goes on. Because we're not planning to build the whole thing in one go, we're trying to apply it to site development projects. Similarly to how we build sidewalks right now, which is typically through site development and in combination with our CIP.
I'm still not sure I see the logic, but.
I tend to agree with people that are talking about this up here, because as you said, there's never going to be a consistent side that you want to be on, and people are going to have to cross the road.
That's what I get. And if I'm riding on the south side of the street on my bicycle and I need to get something on the north side of the street, well, then I don't have a place to ride my bicycle on the north side of the street, do I? I've got to cross the street. Inevitably, at some point in life, you got to cross the street. You know, I always used to joke in my office for many years, the DOT would love a world we would never have to make a left turn. Well, unfortunately, reality is we have to make left turns.
Yeah.
This is a traffic circle.
Just don't do it on a red light.
So, but this is what these sessions are for. So I think these are good suggestions. I think we need to take them seriously, because I think otherwise you're going to be caught in the situation where you're going to inevitably put sidewalks where they don't need to be.
I think the intent, Mr. Chair, and Planning Commission members are to make sure or try to have continuity with different site developments, so they work together, because as Rebecca has said, they're one-offs. You know, we approve a plat and a site plan, then a plat and a site plan, and we wanted to standardize our requirements as best as possible. That was the intent.
Yeah, and I think that's Mr. Moody's intent, to do it as best as possible, just give some flexibility that it doesn't just always have to be on one side or the other.
Right.
Well, but I mean, I don't know, I don't know, this is very weird for me, but I'm kind of on the side of the county that,
How dare you?
I know. I don't know, I mean, I'm hesitant on what the problem is with trying to come up with a recommended standard and then have somebody come in with an alternative standard. And there's going to be cases, just like with any kind of ordinance, there's always cases where an alternative standard is going to be needed. So I don't know. I mean, clearly, if it makes more sense on the
Based
north side
on
of the
my-
road.
I agree
We'll
with
take
you,
that into
and
account.
that's my issue with being too rigid. And my issue is the language of the ordinance, Jamie.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with them trying to standardize, but you have to go into this with an understanding that that's an impossibility. You're not going to standardize that.
I wanted to,
They can have a recommendation that we want it recommended, or it's generally our policy to do these things.
Right.
But I don't want to create something, and I'm sorry, because I didn't want to use this language that's more restrictive and/or burdensome on the developer by the language. I think we need to be very, very careful here.
so I want
in
to
the
point out really
require-
quickly.
as we're creating requirements. Right now, we're operating in an area, and we can all sit here and deny it, but there is a state law that stops us from, that in theory, stops us from passing any more restrictive or burdensome land development code amendments, comprehensive policies, et cetera. And maybe they'll win in front of the Supreme Court. I don't know. Who knows how that'll happen? But I think we should all be conscientious of that and maybe try to think about that as in the language that we're proposing while we're under this period where there's some mystery as to the applicability of that particular state statute.
Well, I think from what Mr. Engel said, I think that's exactly what your understanding of what we're trying to get done here is, isn't it, David?
Yes,
And,
sir.
But the staff has to have some flexibility to make those determinations without coming and asking for an alternate standard.
Yeah, I mean, I'll use, I mean, just take one of the bigger, take like the OPH or something like that, where they have approved sections for roadways with, you know, recommended, you know, pass sidewalks on various sides of the road. That's essentially what I see this as. And maybe there's cases there where there are certain situations where they have to deviate, where you'd have to deviate in this situation too, but it sounds like that's all they're trying to do is trying to standardize it somehow.
And Mr. Chair, we did extend this draft to the TBBA. They had some comments that we were going to handle between the LPA and the Board of County Commissioners, just regarding the construction material and things like that. Rebecca, I don't recall that they had any questions about where we're going to put the multi-purpose pathways, on which side. They didn't object to that.
Okay. All right.
The other thing to think about too is by designating, okay, multi-use paths are going to be on the south side of these arterial roads. So if you had two identical pieces of property, one on the north side, one on the south side, in theory, by having this ordinance, you would make all the properties on the south side less valuable than the one on the top, because it's going to be more expensive to develop that property because you have to have the multi-use path on that side. So, you know, property owners that are on the south side of an arterial may be upset about that because suddenly their property is a little bit more expensive to develop than it was before the ordinance. So I understand, again, I see both sides of it. What Jamie's saying, that, you know.
You feel very strongly both ways.
Yeah, I feel very strongly both ways. It's, you need to standardize it, but at the same time, it creates problems.
I just think this bringing it to us at this time with a lot of unanswered questions just seems premature. There may be some good things in here, and I think there's some good intentions. I think the staff has good intentions. I think it needs to go back and think about the different situations and scenarios and how will we handle this and how will we handle that, and maybe tweak this and then bring it back.
Can we liken this discussion as more of a workshop? I mean, if this is the only questions you have, that's good, and we'll go back and look at it and come back with something better. Is there any other, if there may be something else that you pick up that you want to discuss with us today so we're on target?
Well, I think those are the biggest, for me. I hate to over-regulate which side, but the other one was the applicability. I'm right now making subdivisions that go in Res 1 forced into sidewalks, I don't think is reasonable. People in rural neighborhoods don't demand sidewalks. They don't need sidewalks. Like I said, where I live, I can walk right down the middle of the street. I don't need a sidewalk. It's all good. There's enough property between the edge of pavement and the right-of-way line that that's not actually necessary. And in all honesty, if I'm walking down the street, it's only to go see my neighbor because it's a long way for me to walk to. It's not like I'm going to be walking to Publix from where I live. So I'm just not sure that that's necessarily applicable in all, that sidewalks are applicable in all cases.
Well, then, taking those really two items into consideration, we could just handle it as a workshop. Does everybody agree?
Yeah, it's, makes sense to me.
Okay.
So do we continue?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I just point out two things. I own a home. I had a 6-acre lot. We had sidewalks. I was in the end of a cul-de-sac. And number two, I think the commissioner that Mr. Moody was referring to would love to have had sidewalks on our street. So it's, it can work either way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's places where it's obviously needed for, near schools. I mean, we talked about the sidewalk in 5A, so it's.
Okay, so is there anything else you need to bring?
No, on a positive note, because I don't want you to think I'm just critical of your ordinance, I think a sidewalk fund in this county is long overdue. What I would ask, though, is that you speak to Pinellas County. Pinellas County does it a little bit differently, and the first time I was ever involved in it, I was a little taken aback. I'm thinking, how is this my problem? I was involved in a development where they asked us to build what amounts to a sidewalk to nowhere, and there was no impetus for any of the other sites around there to develop or redevelop and build sidewalks, so it would have been a complete waste of taxpayer dollars, or I'm sorry, of developer dollars, and of no benefit to the taxpayers. And they said, well, we don't take a payment in lieu of the sidewalk. Your obligation is to build 470 some odd feet of sidewalk along your frontage. I need a sidewalk over on this street so that these kids can get to school, and it just happens to be about 470 some odd feet. You need to go build it. I'd ask you to consider that approach, because one of the things that happens is this: if I'm asked to do a cost estimate for my client for a sidewalk, I'm doing it in today's dollars. By the time the county gets around to building a sidewalk, it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years from now's dollars, and potentially, by your language in the ordinance, 15 years later dollars. And I just checked. I looked up what was the average rate of inflation from 2005 to today. It is 65%. So $1 in 2005 is $1.65 today. So by the time you guys get around to building the sidewalk, the cost of the sidewalk is going to have gone way up, and you won't have enough money to build the sidewalk. That's one of the problems we have with collecting mobility fees and building roads 6 or 7 years later. The road costs a lot more money than we ever collected in mobility fees. So maybe it's a better approach, and I'm not suggesting that we have to do it this way. I'm just asking you to go consider it, that where can you put those dollars to use? Don't make a developer build a sidewalk to nowhere today. Go make them build a sidewalk to somewhere today, where the people can benefit from the sidewalk, not just stuck in a bank account. We did the same thing with the trees, and I know we're going to get to that later.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We stuck all the money in the tree fund. We've had the money in the tree fund for years and years and years, and now I got a room full of citizens down here going, hey, where's all the trees? Well, we're going to get the money. Let's do something, build something.
Maybe we could refer the list of priority projects that the MPO adopts and the board sits on it. And there's sidewalk projects on that that are unfunded. Maybe we could prioritize the use of funds and get out on the street.
Great thing to consider.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we will.
Good job, David. Okay, is that all?
I want to make sure I understand your primary concerns here before I leave. So changing applicability to address land use, specifically rural areas, and addressing how we deal with diagonal streets and traffic circles. Was that it?
I think just the restriction of the language.
And the south and east side? Yes.
The language reads right now, shall be.
Right.
I think there should be some flexibility in that.
Right. I understand that it may be the desire,
Right.
but it's when you use the word shall and you're mandating it that where we're having some heartburn over it. We understand that it could be our general policy to require it on this side or that side.
Right.
But there's always going to be an edge case. And you got to be able to do that with, you guys have to be able to be nimble and to move. You're hamstringing yourself.
Understood. Thank you for your time and your comments.
There's some folks that.
We're going to have public comment.
For both?
Okay. Is there a list?
Mr. Chair, there are no individuals pre-registered to speak on this item.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I live in a
still
rural
need your
place,
name. Excuse me.
and I've
We still need your name and address. So we
Melanie Lamberson, 184 Spring Lake Highway,
Okay.
Brooksville.
Thank
I live in a rural place, and I have walked and run in my neighborhood. It's not really a neighborhood, it's just rural. And I have felt, I agree with Mr. Moody that I can run or walk down the middle of the road some of the time. But as a matter of safety, I would feel safer on a sidewalk off the road, not because I think somebody's going to mow me over, but because cars would slow down and just be scary, you know. This is just a safety thing for women. I wondered why they're, you know, it's kind of far to go, where I live, it's kind of far to go to a gym. I like being outdoors. I would prefer to be running and walking outdoors, but it can be kind of creepy. So I just wanted to throw that in the mix.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Anybody else on that subject? Okay.
Do we need to continue or?
Well, I think he's asking for a workshop so that there's no motions.
You need to continue this, or it's going to have to be re-advertised. You want to continue to a date certain?
That's fine with me. I think Mr. Engel was trying to avoid any excess time taken up on it if we all had.
Well, I think we have enough material, and what I'd like to do, if we could just continue it to the next meeting, it doesn't matter which side of the county's on, and if we're not ready, we'll just ask for another continuance. But we're going to try to, the board has wanted us to expedite this, so we want to keep moving. Thank you.
I think everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that would be 10-2.
All right, I'll move to continue this item to the October 2nd meeting in Dade City.
Second.
Have a second? Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign? Nope. Okay.
All right. Crossing the street to item PC4.
South
Tough
side or
crowd.
east
What was that?
South side or east side?
Yeah, exactly.
West.
Item PC4, you are sitting as a local planning agency for. That's PDE 250469, an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners, amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, creating section 530.25, backyard chickens, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code, and an effective date.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Joseph Reinbold, Planning, Development, and Economic Growth. In fall of last year, the Board of County Commissioners directed staff to draft an ordinance to allow chickens in residential zoning districts for the purpose of egg production as a response to the high cost of eggs. What staff is presenting to you today is the Backyard Chickens Ordinance. Here is a summary of the proposed section 530.25 of the Land Development Code. It allows for backyard chickens for the purpose of egg production within residential properties, excluding ER, ER2, MF1, MF2, and MF3. ER and ER2 are agricultural zoning districts. They already have allowances for chickens. MF1, MF2, and MF3 are multifamily, and it's not a compatible use in those zoning districts. In situations where a commercially zoned property has a legal nonconforming use of a residence, for the purposes of this ordinance, the property will be looked at as a residential property, and they will be allowed to have backyard chickens. The setbacks shall be the required setbacks of the nearest zoning districts, where they meet the minimum lot area width that our setback regulations can be met. If the coop is in the rear of the property, it can meet the accessory structure regulations, which are 5 feet. The provisions of the proposed section will not supersede any covenant or restriction of record, so an HOA can have more restrictive regulations. And the proposed regulations regarding the keeping of chickens will be addressed specifically in Chapter 14 of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances. So, while today we're looking at the proposed land development code text of 530.25, for context, we did want to share some key points of the proposed Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances. Section 14150 gives limits on the number of hens and prohibits roosters. There's a requirement for the property to be occupied and not vacant, and it cannot be used as a vacation rental. Section 14151 gives restrictions on the location of the coop, the maximum size and height of it, the minimum square footage per bird, also security, accessibility, and cleaning of the coop. Section 14152, health, sanitation, and nuisance, and that gives information on pest and rodent reduction, nuisance control such as noise and odor, also addresses disease management and disposal of dead birds. Section 14153, permit process and requirements. So there is the requirement for the completion of a UF-IFAS course. It's basically going to be like a backyard chickens 101 best practices of keeping chickens. There will be a one-time county permit that is required, and that certificate of completion of the IFAS course is one of those requirements. There's conditions for revocation and denial of the permit, and also as well as public health emergency procedure compliance. Staff recommends the local planning agency find the proposed amendments consistent with the comprehensive plan. And this concludes the presentation. I'm here for any questions.
All right. The staff was kind enough to give me a preview of this about a month ago. And one of the things they said was that the class doesn't actually exist yet. Does it exist? That was at the time. Does the class exist now?
I believe they're still working on it.
Do we have an estimated time when the class will be available? What I'm hesitant to do is to tell a citizen, here you can have this, because what'll happen is this will get reported on social media that they now allow backyard chickens. Of course, it won't get reported with all the facts, and that the fact is you need a permit, and the fact is you're supposed to take the class, and then you're gonna get, citizen's gonna call up and say, well, I just got my chickens at Tractor Supply, I want to take the class. Well, we don't actually have a class. So pardon the pun, when will all the ducks be in a row to implement the chicken ordinance?
When will the chicks be in the row?
Amanda Hill, Planning Development Economic Growth. So we are working with our UF-IFAS team to develop the course. Part of the issue is that the course is going to be reflective of the ordinance itself. So they're waiting for us to have a finalized version of that ordinance before they actually go ahead and prepare the course and have it online. And like Joseph said, the Code of Ordinances will be brought to the board for adoption, along with the adoption hearing for this Land Development Code amendment. So the intent is to have that course ready by that adoption hearing.
John, did you want to teach that course?
No, I don't. No.
I want John to
I don't. this is one of these ordinances, I will tell you, I have chickens. I've made no secrets that I have chickens. Chickens will be for some people and they won't be for all people. And I'm sure some people will follow this ordinance to the letter and they'll do just fine, and then there'll be some problems along the way, but I don't know what else you'd do.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Only question I had in the 53025, the backyard chickens intent and purpose, does that language in the third line where it says excluding ER2, MF1, MF2, is that saying what it's intended to say?
It's been changed, Jamie. We actually worked on it to make it clear for the intent, and we have language that will be at the first public hearing with the Board of County Commissioners already drafted and added into the agenda for that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you explain what the change is, Elizabeth?
Oh, Amanda, do you have it in front of you? I think I put it in an email to you. I can maybe find that.
While you're looking at that, so that nothing in this preempts existing provisions within HOAs that would strictly not allow this, okay.
Yeah, the deed restrictions still control. If they have deed
Right,
restrictions
okay.
on a property, they can't have them.
Right. And that's actually stated in Chapter 14 as well, I believe. So, and the provision, of course, right here, 530. You got it, Joseph?
I believe so.
Is there any plan? One of the concerns I have, and this isn't any reason I would vote against this, but is there any plan to communicate to the public? Again, what I said this a minute ago, what'll happen is somebody will report on social media they allow backyard chickens, and there's going to be a bunch of people that run down to Rural King or Tractor Supply and go get chicks without knowing what all the rules of the road are here. And I think the county has to really go out of its way to communicate that, yes, we're allowing this, but they require permits and there are regulations you need to follow. Otherwise, I suspect that you're going to get a whole bunch of people with backyard chickens that don't follow this ordinance. I think it's really important that you communicate this to the public. I know there's a land development code and a code of ordinances because it's my job. 99% of the public in this county has no idea that this document exists and doesn't know how to get to it. In fact, I had one member of the community who thought the county was keeping it a secret, but you've got to be able to communicate what the rules are, because people can easily go to the store and buy the chicks and have backyard chickens in a matter of minutes. Again, I don't know that's anything you put in an ordinance, and it's not a reason for me to vote against it. I'm just saying you need to be able to communicate that message.
Understood. Thank you. That language, the ER Estate Residential District and the ER2 Estate Residential District are not subject to the requirements of Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances, as the keeping of chickens is permitted by right in those districts pursuant to Sections 509 and 510 of the Code.
One question I've got is we define poultry as fowl, chickens, turkeys, ducks, and geese. And then Article 3 is keeping of live poultry. Then we just define chickens. Do we need to, does that mean there's no control on turkeys, ducks, or geese? They're not allowed? Or?
Are you looking at the Chapter 14 language?
Yes.
Okay. The intent of those definitions and the way that I structured those amendments there is to recognize within the animal, Chapter 14 deals with animals, and all these requirements of 14 will apply to chickens as well. Okay, not rabies shots though, of course. But the idea was that going forward in the future to have a broader category, that future amendments may be added to that if there is somehow this desire then for turkeys or what have you. And there's a couple of jurisdictions that have explored allowing ducks as well for whatever reason, eggs or companionship, I don't know. But it's just kind of the shell of a larger code amendment that can be added onto in the future. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't know if we needed something that says that if I guess if you think we're good, we're good. That's all I get.
Is your concern that the language isn't clear, that you can only have chickens, you can't have ducks, you can't have turkeys, you
Right,
can't
or
have quail?
Is there an intent to restrict it to just chickens, and are we doing
You
that?
only have rules for chickens right now, and it specifically says keeping of chickens.
But if there,
But there are no rules for the other things written yet, so there.
if there are no rules for keeping turkeys, can I just do whatever I want with turkeys, is my question.
I mean, we could
I mean, I
add
like
language to the effect that all the other things are prohibited unless otherwise amended. I mean, that would resolve that question.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can do that, that's.
Does that make sense to do?
And Mr. Munz, the intent was just to allow and regulate chickens, no
Right.
roosters, no turkeys, and that type of fowl.
Right.
And
Geese.
I would, and again, I didn't go to law school, but I would say if keeping of poultry is in there, that would say that, okay, well, then I can keep poultry, but you're only restricting chickens, so all the others aren't restricted.
We can add some
Yeah, just,
language. I mean, I
that's
have,
all,
I have
yeah.
no problem to do
Okay.
that whatsoever.
That's all I was coming
That's
from.
absolutely fine.
I got a question for Mr. Moody. As far as the, I guess this was established, someone said that it was for the prices of eggs that was going up. So in your experience, when you add all this, the prices really, is it really cheaper to have your own chickens when you consider all the costs that go into it?
Not under that ordinance, no.
Okay.
No. My personal experience is, well, there's multiple reasons people want to raise the chickens, but if they want eggs, if you keep your chickens in a coop and you feed them chicken feed that you buy at the feed store, the eggs you will have, well, chances are, unless you buy Leghorn chickens, the eggs you're going to have are brown, which people pay a premium for those, but you are going to have bright yellow yolks, which is what you get in the grocery store, and that is a chicken that is fed exclusively a grain diet. The people who pay the premium for organic and free-range eggs, they'll notice that the yolks in their eggs are orangish color, and that comes from eating bugs and other plants other than just being fed corn and wheat and rye and the like. If you got to pay to just feed them bagged food from Tractor Supply, it's cheaper to buy your eggs at Publix. If you want to let your birds roam around the yard and you live in the ag zoning district and can do that, well, then they'll eat about half as much food and you'll get the nice premium eggs that you're looking for, and yes, you will get them cheaper, but some people still want to know where their food comes from, and I don't find any problem with that.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The impetus to this might have been the egg prices, but that's a cyclical
Yeah, at
thing that will
$7 a
resolve
dozen, that
itself.
might have happened.
Yeah, that's a cyclical thing that will resolve itself, whereas this ordinance will stay in perpetuity in theory. But what also will help with is sourcing organic food, and it takes some pressure off the commercial food supply. And
Yeah.
so that's, from that respect, it's a really good thing.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
Or if you live next to John, it's cheaper.
Yeah, just go next door. That's right.
Take them.
Take some.
My neighbors are not complaining of a lack of eggs.
Do they get another?
Likewise, I don't have a lack of pork or beef.
Do we have another 4 hens if there's an ADU on the property?
I don't think so. I don't think that's allowed with this.
Anybody else have any comments about this?
I'm all good.
If not, then I hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay.
Was that motion with the amendment to the language to exclude other poultry?
To clarify 14.
Yeah.
14 is not really in front of you, but I'm going to add that anyhow. It's okay.
Okay. It's on
Okay,
record.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Una más.
Okay, next.
All right, our last item on today's agenda is item PC5, that's PDE 250007.
Oh, you guys didn't call for public comment on chickens.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do that.
We need to reopen the.
Is there anybody here that does want to speak about chickens? I'm thinking that you mostly want to speak about trees. Is that right? Okay.
Strong intuition.
Okay.
We're not ready yet, Nancy.
We might have an
We need a
individual.
presentation first.
Can I say something about chickens?
So if you want to, I think we have to reopen
Yes.
the hearing on
Is
it.
it important, Nancy?
No, it's just a comment. I give it to him. He can do something with it.
Give her some eggs, John, will you? Okay.
Okay, so our last item for today's public hearing is item PC 5. That's PDE 250007. An ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, amending Section 802 Tree Preservation and Replacement, Section 802.1 Intent and Purpose, Section 802.2 Applicability, Section 802.3 Tree Removal, creating Section 802.4 New Development, Section 802.5 Existing Problem Trees, Section 802.6 Tree Protection, Section 802.7 Trees of Special Significance, Section 802.8 Heritage Trees, Section 802.9 Tree Mitigation Fund, Appendix A definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code, and an effective date.
Thank you.
That was a mouthful. Amanda Hill, Planning Development Economic Growth. Good afternoon. So I would like to just state for the record that there are some public comments and ex parte communications received by staff regarding this item, and those have been sent to the clerk's office.
Right.
I'd also like to clarify the efforts. I know David started that discussion a little earlier on when he was responding to the citizen, but essentially there are three separate things that are happening right now regarding trees. There's a tree mitigation fund resolution that was approved by the board on July 15th. There is the minor land development code amendment that's currently happening. This is the one that's in front of you right now for consideration. And that's to address inconsistencies and put the change of contribution rate into effect. And then there's a substantive revision that's currently happening right now. Staff is working on the draft, coordinating with internal and external stakeholders, and the intent is to bring that to you in November. So that's just setting the field for what we're discussing today. So just to recap, over the last few months, there have been a couple different activities regarding trees. There was an LPA workshop at the June 5th meeting. Like I mentioned before, on July 15th, the board approved resolution number 25-291, which clarifies the use of funds, administration, and increases the contribution rates to the tree mitigation fund. On August 7th, there was another LPA workshop regarding trees. On August 21st, the LDC amendment was brought to the local planning agency for consideration, where it was continued to today's date. And specifically, the LPA wanted to provide sufficient time for the TBBA to meet with the board regarding the approved resolution 25-291 and to discuss its potential implications. And as such, the discussion occurred, and the board and TBBA ultimately discussed changing the cap for the contribution rates. So the draft that was approved by the board at the 7:15 meeting did not include a cap, and this was discussed at the 8:21 meeting that we had with the LPA. So we are now drafting an amended resolution that will include a cap of $3,500 per upland developable acre. The intent is to bring this amended resolution to the board for consideration at the 10:21 meeting. Just as a recap as well, these were the rates that were approved by the board in that resolution in July. And of note is that the effective date of Section 1 contribution rates will be upon the repeal of Section 802.3C1B 3A to D of the LDC. So as such, the purpose of this amendment is to remove the contribution rates that are currently referenced in that section of the code, and to remove the purpose and authorized locations that are referenced in that section of the code as well. And this would resolve the internal inconsistency that's currently in the code regarding this matter. And staff finds the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommends to the LPA to find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan. I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, David.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, I want to thank the TBBA for participating in our exchange and dialogue. We had three things on the table when we started our final negotiations and meeting with the board members. One was the cap, because they wanted to control their financial exposure. Number two was grandfathering in certain applications. And number three, phasing in the fees over a period of 3 years. And in our negotiations, they backed off on 2 and 3, and they found that the $3,500 cap was very important to them. And I didn't meet with all the board members, but there is a consensus of the ones I met with, which is which is 3, that they were in agreement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
So there won't be any grandfathering, they backed off on the grandfathering, and so.
No, they did because, and one of the reasons was valid, and we really appreciate their consideration. We've had our fees have been too low for over a decade. So, if they went into another county with updated fees, they'd be paying immediately. So these tree mitigation fees are paid at prior to the site plan or land development permitting.
Good. Okay, anything else? Before we hear from the public?
No, I mean, I guess just kind of expanding on that a little bit, David, though, I mean, it does not seem fair that somebody took on a big project and is a year into the process, but just because those fees they haven't been told what those fees are and they're not due to be paid yet, that all of a sudden they get hit with a different fee. That just seems odd to me. I've never seen the county do anything like that before.
Well, that's true in large MPUDs. It takes a matter of years to get all the site development permitting out the door. We didn't even consider that, and we didn't have that discussion with the TBBA about it. Certainly, if they had mass grading, which constitutes a permit, that would help them out. But in areas that are virgin, even though they have the zoning entitlement, under the way that the ordinance is drafted, they would have to pay the fees.
I mean, theoretically, I mean, you could have a project that's literally it's addressing round 2 comments today. This gets approved by the board in a couple weeks, and all of a sudden they get hit with new fees, and they've been in review for 6 or 8 months just on a simple site plan.
Well, we have the TBBA saying, hey, when are we going to get this cap imposed? They're anxious.
They're not the only builders and developers in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, they're only builders, actually. They're home builders.
I mean,
There's
there's a lot
other
of
people that they don't do any commercial development.
That's
They build
right.
Yeah.
residential subdivisions.
I do appreciate the cap was a big thing. I agree with that. I mean, I can see why that was most important to them, but I still just don't, I mean, I just have heartburn with that precedent being set, that all of a sudden we're gonna yank the rug out from people.
Well, we have to start. I understand. I mean, our view is we have to start
But
somewhere.
if you change any other, the county's position has always been, anytime since I've been involved, if your application was in, that's kind of what your application was in, then you go, if it's not in yet, then you go to the new ordinance.
Well, you could make a conditional recommendation based on
Right.
that, if you'd like, if the commission would like.
Yeah, very good. I appreciate it.
One of the discussions we had, though, was having the fees in the ordinance, not just being adopted by resolution. Part of the problem that I have with that, and it's not a problem with the 5 current commissioners I have, they're reasonable people and they're business people and they're well thought and reasoned. But I may get a commission in the future that just decides, you know what? I don't think these fees are low enough. Instead of $75 an inch, let's make them $750 an inch. And they can go in and have a resolution prepared, have it on the consent agenda like this resolution was, with no public hearing. And you can have the rules changed in the middle of the game without any due process. And I think that's why it's important that the fee schedule needs to be in the ordinance. And maybe from time to time, we'll have to update the ordinance with the fee schedule, but then at least we have public hearings, and we get to have the people like the TBBA and the ICSC or whoever come in here and talk to us about the fees and whether they're reasonable or whether caps should be there. And I'm not opposed to raising the fees. I'm opposed to the method by which we're raising the fees. I think there needs to be due process. And I don't particularly find that consistent, that not having due process consistent with our own comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan has property rights element as well that says we will consider the Burt-Harris Act. And in the Burt-Harris Act is a property owner's Bill of Rights, and number 5 in that Bill of Rights is the right to due process. I don't think it's unreasonable for us to hold public hearings. The board has the ultimate decision, and they can raise them to whatever they want. What I'm asking is that they do that and allow property owners to have due process. When you do it by resolution that can be done on the consent agenda without a public hearing, that's not due process.
So, Mr. Moody, what you're saying is because the current Land Development Code requires the fees to be set by resolution, we should amend that provision and then have the fees in the ordinance and sort of goes through a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, it's not that I'm worried about the 5 sitting commissioners we have there. Like I said, they're logical people. I'm not worried about them doing something. But, you know, the political pendulum swings over time. And I don't know who we're going to have 5 years or 10 years from now, and they could decide, yeah, well, let's make it $1,000 an inch. Or maybe we get the opposite.
25.
Let's just make it $0 an inch, yeah. There needs to be a process by which the public can come and speak, the stakeholders can come and speak, more than just a resolution.
And I did want to add some additional context, not necessarily for or against what you were just mentioning, but I know that Mr. Goldstein mentioned at the last hearing that back in 2005, the fee was changed by resolution. I did some additional research and I went back to the 2001 ordinance that was done that actually put the tree protection ordinance into the LDC. And even in that version back in 2001, it said here, the rate shall be held $100 per inch, $200 for each 2-inch caliber tree, which rate may be amended from time to time by resolution of the board. So it's been a long-standing requirement within this that it's adopted by resolution, whether it goes up or down.
I understand that, and I'm saying that
Doesn't mean that's a good thing.
Right. I feel like people have the right to due process.
Especially when money's concerned.
And one of the things since I've been back on this board, one of the things I've been very consistent about since the day I've been here is the people's right to speak, that they get due process. I don't necessarily have to agree with everything that's said, and people don't have to agree with everything that I say, but everybody gets their right to speak. And I don't want to have a situation where, as Jamie's pointed out, the rules can be changed in the middle of the game with no notice.
Agreed.
Okay, so I think we've identified that that's an important factor in what we want to see in that ordinance, so. I think, David, you've encapsulated what we've talked about.
Yes, sir. I recommend, because of timeliness, and well, everybody wants to get this thing taken care of.
Yeah.
If you could recommend it to the board with conditions and revision requests, we would carry it forth earnestly for you.
Okay.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
When is the rest of the tree ordinance going to be ready for us? I don't feel like it's proper to adopt a tree ordinance piecemeal.
This isn't.
Looking
This
at
is
this thing in the whole.
This just deals with the tree mitigation fees. It doesn't deal
I
with
understand.
the actual ordinance.
I understand.
We won't have it to you until
I
November.
understand, and there's people are acting as if there's some emergency that's going to be some fire that's going to be put out tomorrow afternoon by raising the fees. And the comment's been made in multiple hearings that the reason that the trees are cut down is because the fees are too low. Well, I tell you guys to go Google this, because I just did, that the rate of inflation since 2011, since this ordinance was passed, is almost 50% in total. A dollar in 2011 is almost $1.50 today. So we're gonna raise the fees 50%, which that's keeping up with the times. But the assertion is that the fee way back then wasn't high enough, and that's why the trees were killed. Well, no, the fee's about the same. The fees, when you look at it in dollars adjusted for inflation, was about the same. And I've said this before, and this is why I'd like you to bring this back in the whole. Fees for trees doesn't save trees. These people sitting behind you wouldn't be here today. There's been lots of fees collected, and they've got a giant tree mitigation fund, and I appreciate that they're going to open the spigot up and let some of these trees be planted. That's a good thing. But fees for trees hasn't been an approach that works. And unless you want to make it even higher, because we're basically just readjusting the fee for inflation, I don't feel like it's going to do anything. But one of the things that happened in the workshop was you showed us that Alachua County requires maintaining 20% of the canopy. You shall retain 20% of the trees. That saves trees. That you shall save those trees, that will guarantee that the trees are saved. Fees, I can just pass those on. I'll just pass those on to the purchaser of the property, no different than when you want to raise impact fees. Who pays those? The builder doesn't eat them. The home purchaser eats them. And they're going to eat the fees for the trees. So I don't think this approach works. And we need to reconsider that approach. It hasn't worked. And we've got nothing to show anywhere else that it works. Again, I'm not opposed to raising the fee. That's keeping it up for inflation. I hope we do that with some due process. But it's an approach that I don't believe is going to yield any different result. And I'm not personally willing to recommend that you move this on until we've got a comprehensive solution to the trees. Collecting an extra $25 an inch today isn't going to stop any trees from being killed. And especially if they're already approved. How many plans are out there that are approved, that are ready to go? They can go knock them down today. It's not going to do anything. But that's just me.
Well, that's the main thing that concerns me. It needs to be done, and it needs to be done as quickly as possible, because we don't have many trees to save. So that's my impetus. Whether it's fees or whether it's a percentage of the canopy, I can see the percentage of the canopy being important, because you're going to save trees then for sure, because they can't just say, well, $3,500 for this oak tree. Sure, I'll pay that. I'll just pass on.
I'd note I quickly beat
cost
that
of
out
the
on my
property owner.
calculator. $3,500 is 46 inches of trees.
Right.
To this.
So
That's one of those heritage trees.
So I do like the canopy stuff, because when they knock down those heritage trees, that just kills me. And I know it's more important to save canopy bunches instead of individual trees, but still, when you see a 200-year-old tree and somebody knocks it down, that doesn't work for me.
And time is of the essence, because especially if we're going to exempt those that are grandfathered in, people have applications in, which is a fair thing to do, but that doesn't stop them from tearing down trees.
Right. I personally would like to see a continuance, but then staff bring back an ordinance and bring it back in short order and bring it back in a form that guarantees trees are going to be saved. The public wants trees saved. I think the commissioners want trees saved. I want trees saved. But a fee is not a guarantee that the tree is going to get saved. A mandate that you're going to save a tree is a guarantee that the tree is going to get saved.
I guarantee you, sir, the builders are going to love this, that we're delaying this, and I'm sure we're going to get a flood of site plans now, but it's your decision, and we'll carry forward. If you want to continue it, then we'll continue it, and we'll come back in November with a comprehensive. Again, I was recommending just moving forward because the board already adopted new ordinance, just to get this cap in place, because it's fair to our outside external business stakeholders. They need it.
much time would staff need to address some of the stuff that we brought up today?
Well, we had the workshop in July.
Well, there's substantive things here. Mr. Moody wanted to change the ordinance to require fees to be not approved and changed by resolution by ordinance. That's an LDC matter. Mr. Girardi was concerned about the effective date of these fees. That's something we could bring back fairly quickly. Mr. Moody, you wanted to do it comprehensively because you appreciate the inflation factor of the fees, but you want to have teeth in it that were really protecting and preserving trees like the Alchua 20% canopy objective.
I would say in terms of that last point, staff wanted to ensure that we had the opportunity to have effective collaboration with TBB and other stakeholders before bringing it to you to ensure that they're involved in the process and that they could give appropriate feedback. And November would be the earliest date that we'd be able to do that and allow for that type of collaboration.
I mean, me personally, I'm not too concerned with the flood of applications given the current market environment in the next month or month and a half. So that's just my opinion.
I also think November is going to come. We're going to snap our fingers and it's going to be here. So I don't
Right.
think there's any reason to
Do it right.
Right.
Yeah, take the time, do it right.
Well, as I tell my family on Thanksgiving, I'll see you next time. We'll be back in November, it looks like.
Okay.
Then,
All right.
Do we have a planning commission date in November so we can?
I believe it's November 20th, if memory serves me right. Patty, can you confirm?
10/20.
So before we vote to continue, though, I think we have to provide the public a chance to.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they would be upset if they sat there all day.
Yes, they came for a reason.
Yeah. We just cut them down to 1 minute.
Patty confirmed it's 11:20 for the next meeting.
Okay. All right, so I think we have members of the public that would like to speak.
Mr. Chair, first on the list is Ms. Partnett.
There you go.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Julia Bartuna, 2645 Meadowood Drive, Newport Richey, Florida. And again, here in beautiful Pasco County. And I wanted to say, just speak a little bit about trees. And I notice when a neighbor cuts down a tree that immediately there are cracks in the road and potholes form. We live in a integrated ecosystem which also supports us and supports developments. So when we clear cut forests and then burn the trees, it impacts us, it impacts our infrastructure, and impacts flooding also. So the importance of trees in preventing stormwater runoff is integral because of their root systems. Obviously, I'm against cutting down all trees except for invasives. I'd like to see those get cut down. However, the standard should not be to cut down any live oaks that are more than 24 inches in diameter. That is a conservation standard. Yes, increasing fees may or may not be a deterrent. I am in support of increasing fees, obviously, because the fees will go to tree mitigation funds. And lastly, I would like to say that we're so grateful that everyone is working really, really hard on this and diligently, and that everyone here represents the concern to maintain Pasco's tree canopies and to preserve our legacy oaks and our heritage oaks so that we can keep, Pasco County beautiful. And I appreciate all the work and effort that you have all put into this and the progress that's being made and the upcoming tree plantings. That is very, 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 very wonderful. So much respect in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
She's a lot less nervous this time.
I know she's better. I have a comment.
Realize we don't bite.
Who's next?
Next on the list would be Ms. Catherine Capello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Oh.
Catherine, we need your name and address.
Hello? Hello?
Just need your name and address.
Yes,
You've
sir.
been sworn, right?
66, yes. 6646 Timber Cove Lane, Newport Richey.
Okay.
It's great to be here, and thanks. I feel like I'm speaking to the choir, so that's a nice thing. Trees filter the pollutants from the air. They provide oxygen so we can breathe.
Yep.
That's a big plus. Preserving mature trees can also increase the value of the properties by 10 to 20%. And along with what Sonia was saying in reference to clean cutting, when they just knock down all the trees, that creates the greenhouse effect, and all the carbon dioxide that was trapped in the ground comes into the sky and makes the temperatures hotter. So there's some really critical reasons for selective cutting, where you go in and you choose the trees to keep, and you're really methodical and thoughtful about the process because it matters. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Yep. You only get one shot at it, sorry. Unless somebody has a question. Anybody have a question for our first speaker? Okay, I have a question then. Come on up. If you.
I just want to say that Jessie Forcan sends her apologies because she got a flat tire and couldn't be here. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're going to scold her for that. Thank you. Who's next?
Next on the list would be Miss Nicole Lynn.
Nicole Lynn? There we go.
Nicole Lynn, 4921 Memorial, Tampa, Florida, Suite 300. I have been sworn.
Been sworn, okay.
I just wanted to bring up, I have been part of the meetings that we've been having with staff, so thank you very much. So we have been having additional conversations since the last meetings that you all have had. I'm not going to regurgitate because you had plenty of conversation, all of which we had discussed, except for I did want to mention two things. Phasing was a big concern. We identified that. Love for it to be part of the conditions that you guys propose to the board, to refer to them, because grandfathering was a big thing, especially of MPUDs, as you pointed out. And then the last thing is really just looking for clarification as to the effectiveness, in your opinion, as to, and maybe Ms. Blair can give some clarity on that, the effectiveness of anything moving forward due to the resolution and ordinance thing as far as the fees that the board had already heard, so that we know whether or not, for planning purposes, when that cap that we're trying to get included would actually take effect, or in the midst of ongoing conversations going till November, what those fees that the board already heard would go into effect. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Was there a
well,
comment?
I can give you my thought on that. The resolution's pretty clear that that section's not effective until this repeal happens. So it really is what it is. We're in limbo until anything gets adopted for that portion of the resolution.
Okay, and somebody else on the list?
Last but not least, Miss Melanie Lamberson.
Melanie Lamberson?
Nancy, like to supplement, that's fine.
Nancy?
So Jeremy wants to speak to.
Okay.
Add many more.
Nancy Hayeswood, 34110, a nice place. It's nice to see y'all again. You've been doing a great job, and staff. You've been very thoughtful with all this. Sasha mentioned Angeline, and I've been very impressed with it. And I was talking about it to people in my groups, and somebody saying, "Oh no, it's got a lot of homes in there and no trees." And then I talked to the county biologist, and they said that some of the land was bought by either Swiftmud or ELASP. I'm not sure which, but you've got swaths of trees behind these houses. through parts of it, and it just makes all the difference in the world. And I don't know what to do to encourage that, but I think that ought to be a state of the art. John, I liked what you said about 20%. That sounded real good too. Our trees save our natural resources. We need them, like somebody else was saying earlier, and they complement the county. I've also noticed a lot of the ag land has very few trees on it all of a sudden. I think it's kind of odd that people are going into their ag land with their cattle and cutting their trees. I'm going by some of these places and finding cattle. They've found one tree and they're all huddling under that. I'm not sure what's going on with that, and I was wondering if that could be looked into and maybe encouraged them not to cut their trees. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they're getting it shovel ready, and that scares the heck out of me. But I think y'all are being very considerate, and I hope we have something wonderful coming out soon that will start saving our natural canopies. Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, Jeremy Couch, 17937 Hunting Bow Circle. I have been sworn. I've heard a lot of information up here today. I generally feel that this ordinance was passed very, very quickly without much stakeholder input at all. I am an affected party, Mr. Girardi. I have an application in process for an office building, and I was told by staff that I owe a lot more money than what I had budgeted for. And staff didn't really know how to determine whether or not that this was applicable to my project or not, my personal project. This is concerning. I do think there needs to be a cap. I think that's very important. I think that needs to be passed as soon as possible. The people who are going to be affected are the home buyers, particularly the first-time home buyers. You know, we keep taking. Now, we don't like 5-foot side yards, so we lose 20% of the homes. And now we want to save more trees. We lose more. It's going to cost $500,000 for a 1,000-square-foot home in this county soon. So we really need to think about the economic impacts of what we're doing. I think that the ordinance definitely needs to go through public hearings. I'm a member of the TBBA. I probably permit and build 2,000 homes and units in Pasco County a year. That's zero input into this ordinance. Even the way it's written, I have projects now that the way it's written today, before the cap, I have people under contract to purchase property, and they're looking at $1 million added to their development that they had zero idea. I think we should only be paying to replace trees over a certain size. Scrub tree, pine tree that grows this big in 1 year, why would we pay $500 to remove that? That doesn't make sense. The end user will eat this. The employees that we want to bring here and the employers, when they can't get reasonable housing, attainable housing in this county for their employees, will not move here. So I agree with the aesthetics. I understand. But I think we need to incentivize developers with increased density if they're going to preserve 20% of their land or their canopy, reduce setbacks, a give and take that makes reasonable sense. And then further, with that money, I mean, planting trees in the right-of-way is great, but what that does to the county is who's going to prune the trees? Now the county's got to pay to take care of these trees. Why don't we take this money and also purchase ELAMP properties to where we can have meaningful preservation and use in the middle of areas? I mean, there's a lot of good things we can do. This happened really, really quickly. And I was surprised and I was affected, and I hope that this kind of gets out in the open. It was well intended. I get it, why it went through quickly, but it would be better to follow good due process.
Jeremy, quick question. In the early discussions, about this. One of the things, Mr. Gray and I had talked about here was providing a density bonus for saving trees. You just brought the same kind of thing up. Is there, all we've done is talk about it. What really comes down, someone's got to come up with a number. Do you have any ideas on what kind of, if one saved, if, let's say we had in an ordinance that we mandate you save 20% of the tree canopy, how much of a density?
20% density bump, sure.
A 20% bonus
Yeah,
density?
give them a
for
20%
saving
bonus
20%?
density. Yeah, I mean, incentivize these type of things. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just shooting from the hip.
I understand, and that's, me too, I haven't thought exactly clearly through, but I'd like to see staff bring something like that back.
Well, here's the conundrum, Mr. Moody. Most of our projects come in under entitlement already. So we're giving a density bonus on something that's not going to be used in most cases. So we'd have to find some other value to provide as an incentive.
Well, I made the suggestion before that maybe when, of course, Jeremy may not agree with me on this, but maybe when Ms. Wilhite and Mr. Hobby and the rest come in with their clients, that the initial proposal is 60-foot lots. And then when you save the trees and you provide the neighborhood parks and you provide the multi-use trails on whether it be the south or the east side of the street, then you get 55-foot lots. And when you provide the community garden like at Angeline, then you get the 50-foot lot. And if you want the goodies, you want to get down to the 45-foot wide lots, you got to give us back some goodies. Right now we give it away. And I know David sat up here and said, well, we got PM 26, which now we're legislating via policy memo, but we've set it out from the here. Look, you come to Pasco County, we'll give you 45-foot wide lots. We didn't have a negotiation session with some of these guys. We'll give you the 45-foot wide lots when I get some things. You just remember, in our code, the MPUD is to be reserved for projects which are unique, okay? Where they have to create their own standard because they're trying to preserve wetlands or preserve trees or some special feature of the property. We got everybody using the MPUD to try to maximize the number of lots I can put on a piece of property. I've seen giant square pieces of property come in here that are cow fields with, we're doing this as an MPUD so that I can make 20-foot townhomes under PM 26 and maximize the maximum possible number of them I can get. Without regard to...
I actually wanted to ask Mr. Couch a question.
Sure, go ahead. And I apologize, Jeremy.
No apologies, sir.
This resolution that's currently in effect that the board adopted has a lot of focus on the first section, but the last section actually has some very interesting things in it that you may not be aware of. It's actually section 3, authorized expenditures. There is the last paragraph there, number 4, that talks about costs associated with the purchases of conservation easements or deed restrictions on private property. That is purposely brand new language in there. So you can actually use the existing tree mitigation fund right now under this existing resolution to be able to do a project with the developer where tree stands are identified that are worthy of, the canopy we're all talking about right now will be protected by this paragraph right now using tree mitigation funds.
Yeah.
So it's not ELAMP dollars, it's the tree mitigation fund that we have so much that's piled up and waiting to be used. So I would love it if someone could start doing this idea here, and you're interested in using ELAMP funds, why don't you explore using tree mitigation funds under this existing paragraph right now to save the tree stands, the canopy, and have the incentive that you're talking about. It's right here.
Purchase properties that are along the Anklet River or other places where they're critically important.
Well, that's what ELAMP can be used for too, but this is specific to a project, and the concept behind this actually came from one of our commissioners, legislative aides. And the idea is that you can play out in a scenario like you're an MPUD applicant. You come in here, you work with natural resources to identify a tree canopy stand that you want to have in the middle of your community park that you want to design around, and we'll pay you to do that. That's right here in this resolution. So
That's That's fantastic.
No one's noticed it. But it's here. It's a new step forward.
That's very fantastic.
Okay.
Elizabeth, it's because it's buried in a resolution that was on a consent
Well,
agenda
that's
to
true.
which there was no
True, John.
public notice or no public hearing.
But I'm glad I'm able to bring it up right now in this context because it serves your purposes that you've pointed out.
Thank you.
Okay.
You need to be able, that's why these things need to be embodied in the code where everybody can see them.
I agree.
And to answer Mr. Couch's question about Angeline, that eco corridor was purchased as part of the ELOM program because it is a corridor that's designated.
That's true. That is a corridor. We bought that.
But with regards to the grandfathering, I think we're all in agreement on that you brought up as well. And you also brought up another good point too, because there's a lot of discussion going on in this current environment about affordable housing. And, so we have to balance that. We want to keep the trees, but we also need to be able to keep the housing affordable for people to be able to have housing here in the county. So that's the flip side of it we always need to contend with.
I think my
Yes,
biggest
ma'am.
concern about what Jeremy said is stakeholder involvement and kind of lack of involvement in the process. I know how active Jeremy is in this county, and I think that that's all the more reason to continue this to November, for sure.
Well, and I think that goes back to the whole resolution for the fee. I mean, I think I brought up at the last meeting, I find it hard to believe that a resolution was adopted. I watched just because I don't even know why I looked at the agenda, but I noticed that resolution was on the board agenda, and I couldn't believe that the board was changing the fee on the trees, and there was not one person that I thought would be interested in that present at that meeting.
Because nobody knew.
Right, exactly, that's my point. So.
Well,
The only reason it got
nobody
discussed
knew.
is because one commissioner pulled it off the consent agenda.
Correct.
Yeah, nobody knew, but we were in discussions, and I think I reported to the planning commission with our external stakeholders for 2 years on it. It wasn't just an overnight deal, but you're right. The actual proceeding wasn't public.
Sure.
As far as a hearing.
And I would say since then, the draft for the amended resolution has been shared with external stakeholders, and they haven't provided any opposition to what we've shared with them thus far.
Hadn't been shared with me.
The TBBA.
Their view is let's do the cap as soon as possible. That was their concern, but.
Yes.
But I hear you, and if the board takes a vote to continue to the November meeting, we'll come back with a comprehensive package.
And Amanda, I don't mean to sound argumentative. Again, the TB, and this is not to say anything disrespectful about the TBBA. They're not the only developers in the world. They're not the only people who come in and apply for permits at the county. Everybody is entitled to participate in the process. We have a state statute that says the property owner's rights, there's a Bill of Rights in that statute. Number 5 is you have the right to due process. Not just exclusively for the TBBA. Anyways,
So we have a motion?
what was the date in November?
11/20.
Move to continue this. Move to continue the matter to the 11/20 hearing. Is this in Dade City or Newport Richey?
Richey.
In Newport Richey, with the recommendation that staff bring an entire or comprehensive ordinance back to the Planning Commission for consideration.
I'll second.
Motion, second?
And with your motion, the consideration of the things that we brought up about the grandfathering and fees by resolution as opposed to ordinance.
Yes, that's what I.
All of those things.
You got all those down, right?
I'll watch a recording.
I got
Clerk's down there.
I take copious notes.
That's right, I know you do. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay, motion carries.
I can still hear the can rattling.
I'd like to thank all the members of the public for hanging in there and letting us hear what you think, and we'll try to do our best.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I didn't hear any no's.
Pasco County waterways and wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other discharges are illegal. If you suspect an illicit discharge, please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727-834-3611.
Hey Tampa Bay, let's come together to conserve water. When it rains or rain is in the forecast, skip a week of watering and save up to 2,500 gallons of water. Once a week watering restrictions are in effect. Know your day, Tampa Bay. Go to mywaterday.org.